Lautaro Martinez to Arsenal Football Club remains in advanced stages as talks between Inter Milan and Arsenal continue. This is a deal that is there to be done. These are the words of transfer guru Dean Jones, and this is being confirmed now by more and more sources. Equally, Martinez is willing to join Arsenal Football Club. He is willing and wanting to join the Premier League, and this is a deal that can be done should the money be right. A fee circa to 80 million euros is needed to bring Martinez to the Premier League. It is the number one priority now in terms of the striker element on Arsenal's transfer list. At the same time, Arsenal have now made their first concrete approach, yes, through intermediaries, but their first concrete approach this summer for James Maddison from Leicester. Arsenal, along with another club from London, have made a player plus cash offer to bring the attacking midfielder from the King Power Stadium to the Emirates next year. Arsenal are working on both these deals at the same time. Are they difficult to get completed? Yes. Can Arsenal pull them off, though? Absolutely. James Maddison and his team have been waiting for the Arsenal approach for the majority of the summer, and they are willing to join. This has been confirmed this afternoon. They are willing to join Arsenal Football Club. Leicester City are, of course, trying to price them out of the move, trying to make it too expensive. Inter Milan are willing to sell Martinez. Some believe it's what Inter Milan need to keep hold of Lukaku that they are desperate to try and keep for the forthcoming season. Of course, Chelsea Football Club are circling with their own mega money bid that would be too good for Inter Milan to turn down. We're going to be delving into all of these stories over the course of the next hour or so, taking your phone calls as well. But do me a big favor right now on the Football Terrace. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel right now, and turn on those bell notifications. You know what comes next? Here we go. Welcome back to the Terrace. Good afternoon. James Maddison update to come. Lautaro Martinez update to come. Lukaku updates aplenty as well. And let me just put this out from the bat. Martinez will join Arsenal. Anyone. But why would he join? It's not about why would he join. He would join. Absolute 110%. He would join Arsenal Football Club. He has made this very clear to his agent. Conversations have happened with Arsenal for Arsenal to be able to present the package, the plan, the process, and everything along those lines. It's been in advanced stages since last week. And as Dean Jones confirmed this morning, Peter O'Rourke earlier on in the earlier last week, I think Mr. Ornstein even touched on this as well. It is a deal that is there to be done for Arsenal. And of course, there are moving parts to this. Arsenal have to sell some of their current players. They need to move on. The likes of Lacazette, as an example, Bellerin, Willock. Space needs to be made within the Arsenal squad to accommodate players such as James Maddison and, of course, Lautaro. But Arsenal are working on the deal. Any gooners that don't think this is true is coming out of both camps in Italy and over here in the UK. They are working on that deal. And at the same time, you've got the Lukaku situation. The big question is, will Inter Milan sell both? Personally, I don't feel like they will. So what a race this sets up in my mind between Arsenal and Chelsea fighting it out for two of the best attacking players in Serie A to try and bring them to the Premier League. I want your thoughts and I want your feelings on what's going to happen surrounding this. I'm so intrigued by this deal. I really am. And of course, I will not take any credit for this. It's not my story here. Chris Wheatley, one of the best Arsenal men on the block, has confirmed today in his article in football.london that Arsenal Football Club, via intermediaries, like the majority of these deals, have made their first concrete approach for James Maddison in a player plus cash deal to try and lure him away. Now, this is very preliminary stages, very, very preliminary stages in terms of the situation with Leicester City. But the situation is now advancing. Before, it was just kind of preliminary talks. Would the player be interested? And there's always been conjecture. Dean Jones has always kind of felt that it would be very difficult for Arsenal to get done. Would James Maddison want to go? We've had Peter O'Rourke on the show that's been very, very unyielding in his opinion that James Maddison would join Arsenal Football Club. I don't think Arsenal would be making this move for him, nor Martinez, unless they had a true, genuine, heartfelt belief that they could get this deal done. So both of them are now progressing. And I want to ask you a question today. We're going to put this question right now into the live chat functionality. If you're not part of the Football Terrace before, if you're just new to us today, amazing, amazing, amazing. Make sure you subscribe and also make sure you follow our brand new notification group chat that we have that's set up on the terrace. It's really important to be part of that. We will pin that to the live comment functions for you in just a few moments' time. If you haven't, it's also in the description below. Just look for new Telegram group. Get yourself signed up to that. I think over 120 new sign-ups today. It's free of charge. Doesn't cost you anything. You just get notified when new information comes out. But the poll I'm going to put out today, let me move this microphone back. I'm going to put the poll in. You'll see it in a second, people. While I'm writing this, that's when you go and sign up to that group, follow our Discord, and go follow me on all my social media accounts. All of the links are in my description below. Go and get that done now. I'm going to write this poll right now. Will Arsenal land both Maddison and Martinez is the question. I'm going to give you 4 options, right? Okay, I'm going to write both. Just Maddison is one of the options. Just Martinez or neither. That's the poll that we're going to put in here. That's the poll that we're going to put in here. That's now been launched for you. The poll is in. Get yourselves involved, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. A few people here saying, there we go. Christian Romero. Also, breaking news has just been announced. As I tweeted out, I tweeted about it in the last few days. Bit of insight in that deal. Ironically, the same person that told me all about the situation with Jules Kounde. I am going to update you on Jules Kounde later on today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a man of my word. But Romero is now a Tottenham player. That is big, breaking, and bold news there. Congratulations. Big congratulations there to Tottenham Hotspur for pulling that deal off. Big, big deal indeed. Huge, huge deal that to take him to the Premier League. And what a talented player he is. Legitimately, an absolute star in the making, that young man. Absolute star in the making. So well done to Tottenham Hotspur. We will take calls on that as well. Smith here says, Terry, if someone says why would Maddison or Martinez downgrade, please block them immediately. Listen, it's not a downgrade to come to Arsenal. Both players are looking at Arsenal as a bit of a stepping stone. And that isn't disrespectful to Arsenal either. This is part of Arsenal's approach this season in the transfer market. You may not get this from the Arsenal tier ones because they'll always praise everything about Arsenal, make it look tip-top. But let's be realistic. These players, especially the likes of Martinez and Lukaku, it's a double-edged sword. If they reach their potential and Arsenal improve, it's a match made in heaven. If they reach their potential, but Arsenal don't improve, Arsenal will cash in on them, and those players will move on to clubs in a better contemporary situation. It is win-win for Arsenal. There is no downgrade. And we're going to play a snippet from the interview with Dean Jones earlier on today. But essentially, Arsenal were leading this race because they've got a free run at Martinez, because he's not top of anybody else, any other major club's priority list right now. So why not strike while the iron is hot? That isn't an embarrassment. That isn't something to be frustrated about. That isn't something to be annoyed about as an Arsenal fan. Embrace it. You know, if Liverpool and Man City and Barcelona and Bayern Munich all needed a brand new centre-back when Varane become available, it would have been a harder thing for Man United. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes in football. Let's have a look at a few more of your comments coming in here. I'm just going to update the title of this stream as well to Romero confirmed. Just Be respectful. Just to be respectful here. To, of course, any Spurs fans that want to speak about that. We will put the link out very, very soon for you to call in. I want to do some comments here. Tammy to Aston Villa. Is that progressed? Oh, that's an interesting one. I'd like to know a bit more. If that's a suggestion, I don't know. Let's have a look at a few more. Smith said, isn't everyone a stepping stone unless the team wins? Pretty much so. Pretty much so. You could definitely argue that point, logically speaking. Absolutely. Gunner King here says, I will remind... Okay, you guys are talking to each other. When they're not at me, I'm not going to read them out because they'll make no sense to me. My heart wants both or either, but logically, I think we might not get either. Interestingly, on the poll right now, it's very split. 31% think both, 32% think neither. And then you've got that in between in the middle, 35% think you'll get one or the other. In relation to that. So interesting split there to read through and go through. Let's have a little look at more. Chris here says, Terry, have you ever seen Romero play? I've seen Atalanta play on a number of occasions, and he looks very good. What I've read about him and been told about him by people that watch Serie A on a regular basis, he's a very talented young man, one of the best centre-backs in their league. Now, I can only take people at their word. I'm going to wait to see what he does in the Premier League, but he's highly touted, he's highly respected, and a lot of clubs have been looking at him. Now, he was someone that Man United inquired about before that Rafael Varane became available. So a number of teams have been linked with him. I think it's a very good signing for Tottenham Hotspur indeed. Very, very good for him. Tricks here says the other London clubs that's in for Madders is probably Spurs, so there is no threat whatsoever. He doesn't want Spurs. What's really intriguing about the situation with James Maddison is if two clubs are going for him, Arsenal should feel more confident. If two clubs are trying to buy him, Arsenal should feel more confident. Facts. Arsenal should feel more confident if two clubs are going for him. And I'll tell you why. Because if two teams are vying for his signature, that tells me that there is a deal to be done. That tells me there is hope amongst potential suitors that they can prize him away. You don't see anybody bidding. You don't see very many teams bidding now for unattainable players, do you? Doesn't happen. You only really go for players that you think you can win, whether they're for sale or not. It's why I say with Chelsea, the effort they're putting in for Lukaku, that's not a smokescreen. That isn't, don't really want him. You don't put this much effort in. We will give you an update on him a little bit later on indeed. Deshane here says, Terry, if Arsenal could possibly land both, where realistically do you think we could finish? If you sign both of those players, with Ben White, who's quality, with Partey getting his second wind, with the quality of Emil Smith-Rowe and Saka, you should be finishing inside the top 6, and you should be pushing for top 4 and ready to pounce if any of the predicted top 4 struggle. That's where I would put Arsenal with those players year 1. Going into the second year of these players, because of their age and their profile, everyone being a year older, challenging for top 4 will become a necessity. Absolutely become a necessity that I don't think anybody can shy away from or try and move away from in any way, in any shape, or in any form. Slens here says Lukaku and Martinez could still both leave. You know, why would Lukaku want to stick around if they were selling their best players and vice versa? And Slens, we are opening the lines very soon for everyone to come on and have your say. You've pulled on a point here, which Christophe Terrer, one of the most credible football journalists in the world, brought up back in May right here on the Football Terrace. And his words were to the effect of, I don't care what Lukaku says. Let's wait and see how he feels when he returns with the new manager. Let's see who leaves his club. Let's see how he feels about being part of that team. It's going to be very interesting indeed. We have a super chat here from Mark Neighbor. You won the prize for last month, my friend. Your name got pulled out of the hat. Send me a DM so we can send you your shirt. And remember, every super chat we get in of green rating or above, you enter into the prize draw to win a football shirt of your choice. And we multiply, it goes up in multiples of 5. So if in here with Mark's case, he's put 10 in, his name now goes into the August prize draw at least twice because he super chatted him. What he has said here is simple. How many days have you got to explain to your subs about how big Arsenal is through the last 80 years? People think 1 or 2 years barren means something. Players know history and what a badge means. Arsenal have got pulling power. There is no doubt about it at all. I really do think that anybody that like, I get rivals like questioning each other's pulling power, but it doesn't make too much sense to me at all. I've got a question here from the Arsenal Hub on Twitter, who say Martinez dependent on Lacazette and Nketiah leaving surely. 100%, 100% right. But of course, Arsenal have got to do the work now. What Arsenal might decide. Do you know what's interesting? I know no one likes the Cronkies. I know nobody likes the Glazers. But the Glazers have done it this year. We've got our first 2 major targets in, and we haven't sold first. We've bought first. This would be a real sign of intent from Arsenal's owners if they'd landed Martinez and then sold the players afterwards. They might need to if Inter Milan are not willing to sell both. But they may be forced into selling both if one leaves. Maybe Martinez is even more inclined to leave if Lukaku goes. And do we actually understand the full extent of the financial damage done at that football club? The answer is we do not. It is as simple and it is as straightforward as that. Simple and as straightforward as that, as far as I'm concerned. Terry, what's Romero's stats compared to Jules Kounde? We'll have a little look at that a little bit later on today. We're going to open up the lines now for you to phone in and for you to have your say. It's very important to us on the terrace that you get that done. Make sure you're signed up to our brand new notifications group as well for everyone who's tuning in. Be nice to have a good 1,000 of you in that notifications group so you know when the football terrace goes live moving forward. I'm going to write in now, call in, have your say. That link has now been shared in the live comment section, and I'm going to pin it. Okay, I'm going to try my best. The chat moves so quick. I put a delay on the chat, and it still moves too quick. Imagine when we're even bigger, and we've got even more people watching us. It's going to be mad. But there we go. That's now pinned to the live chat, so you can phone in, and you can give us your thoughts and opinions. I want to give an update on Lukaku. I know we spoke about it in depth this morning. A lot of information has been shared across social media. But let's talk about the Lukaku situation for a moment because it's very, very, very important indeed. It's very, very important indeed to speak about this. Chelsea Football Club are preparing a new bid. Another bid is going to go in for Lukaku very, very soon. Roman is driving this. A lot of people have said, oh, Roman's driving everything though, isn't he, Terry? Yes, of course he is. Roman wasn't driving Haaland because Haaland was the only one he wanted. Haaland was number one choice, but it appears unattainable now. I did tweet earlier, like, imagine a bid for Haaland goes in now. The internet's breaking. Honestly, Twitter's servers are going to crash. But another bid is going to go in. It is reported out of Italy that this next bid that Chelsea are planning is going to be in excess of 120 million euros, and Inter Milan will not be able to turn it down. What I do know, and I can't reveal the full extent of this, but what I do know is that Lukaku has got some of his representation already sorting out travel arrangements, living arrangements, etc., to move back to London. Him and his team believe this deal can go through, and they believe this bid is coming in. And if Inter Milan accept the bid, Lukaku will join Chelsea. Will join Chelsea. What you're probably going to see in the next 24 hours or so is a bit of a U-turn tweet from some of the highly regarded European press. It'll be sort of in the last few hours, Lukaku has changed his mind. That is what you're going to see. That is how it's going to be presented in terms of the situation revolving around him. Lukaku, if a bid is accepted by Inter Milan, will be a Chelsea player. There you go. Maddison, Martinez, we're talking about it now. First up on the show today, we've got a lot of good people backstage. Look at this. We've got Mazzy. We've got Gunner King. We got B-Man backstage. I just see his head there, B-Man. Looks like he's in heaven again. He's in the brightest room in the world. Looks like he's got Simon Cowell smiling behind him. But first and foremost, we're going to be getting Jess on the show to have her say, and then we're going to keep Jess on the panel, bring more people in to talk. We've got James backstage also, and many, many. Actually, got a super chat first. So super chat is definitely more important than Jess. FSG are a joke, allowing Arsenal to have a free run at players like Martinez. Our is at its highest the highest it's been in the last decade, and we can't afford to stay relevant. Listen, I mean, I would be very concerned as a Liverpool fan if Arsenal pull off either one of these deals, let alone like both. I would be concerned because the business there is moving very, very slowly. I was told at the weekend, I didn't do any stories on this because I wasn't too sure about the verified news, but I was told by a Liverpool source, and I haven't done a video on this, as you know, that Liverpool are going to bottom out by the middle to end of this week, the Saunaghez deal. Now, they do work in silence, but we haven't seen any word of that at all right now. Jesse's here with me. James Maddison, Martinez. Give me your thoughts.
Well, I'm excited about the Maddison part. Like I think that, with the news of Granite going ahead and signing a new deal, something needed to be done. So for me, the number 10 position is really important. Can't rely on Smith Rowe all season. And I don't know what these Arsenal fans are smoking, but James Maddison improves you a lot. A lot. We need a marquee signing. We need somebody that's going to step in and want to be the man. We need somebody to have that ego to kind of like drive us forward. So I think he ticks a lot of boxes that we need. And he can also help Smith Rowe in his development. Whereas if you had brought in like an Odegaard, who I do love, he's in the beginning stages of his development as well. So that's not really the best position when you're an Arsenal team under pressure needing to get into Europe. So I like that part of it. I really do. I feel like it's something that can get done. It feels more concrete now than it did a couple of weeks ago. The Martinez thing, I'm still kind of like, the Lukaku part of it to me makes it still feel a little bit like, okay, they're not going to sell both of their star strikers, are they? So it kind of feels like a race to see who can get it done first. Do I like that we're being ambitious and we're going after big players? Absolutely. Like, I love it. Even when, the Locatelli news came out, I was like, of course, it's not nice to be rejected, but at the same time, you still have to show people that you're willing to go get the best, and Locatelli's a really good player. So Martinez is kind of similar in that way. But again, where's Lacazette going? I need to see him on his way out. And with the Lukaku news, I just feel as though if Chelsea get that done first, then Martinez is kind of off the table for us.
Yeah, and I totally understand that point of view. I'm 50-50 in my head when it comes to will they sell both. I think maybe both will push for the move if the other will push for the move if one more person leaves. It depends on who the replacements are. Could Lacazette be used in this deal with Inter Milan as a make weight? Potentially, like that could potentially happen as an example. And maybe that actually makes it easier for them in their eyes to let. Because I actually think someone like Lacazette would kill it in Italy. By the way, I think he'd actually go over there and score a hell of a lot of goals. It's a slightly slower league, and I think that would benefit him a lot more. But I do understand 100% your skepticism around the deals. But it's nice to actually hear an Arsenal fan be positive about the fact you are trying to sign good quality players, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's you want your team to go out and at least try and sign these individuals. What's your response to some Arsenal fans I've seen on socials that are simply saying, stop buying into the sort of PR hype? This is just a club trying to get you to renew memberships and season tickets and buy the kits. They're never going to pull these deals off. They're just wasting their time. Do you think Arsenal would legitimately sit in meetings with Inter Milan just to sell season tickets?
Not with the documentary coming around the corner. Like, people forget about that as well. Like, if we're talking about PR and we want to make Arsenal look better, you're going to follow through. You don't sign the deal with Amazon to not have marquee signings come in and make us look good. That's the whole point of it, right? So I do kind of get it, but I feel like we get into this mode where we like to live in misery, so we don't want to believe anything good is happening. I don't think Arteta and Edu should be tried for, the sins of the last regime. I think we tend to blur the lines and make it seem like it's this one big group of people that are just doing these things. But Edu's only been in charge, like, really since like last summer, but Raul did pretty much all the deals before they were completed. So we have to give them a chance to show what their idea of Arsenal looks like before we make a decision on like, is this the right direction to go in? And I do think Arteta and Edu want to be ambitious. Do I think sometimes maybe their inexperience leaves them to maybe have some blind spots that they're not really taking care of? Yeah, like selling players early and, maybe going after people that we know we can't get. But ultimately, like, you can't sit here and act like what we've done in this window is anything similar to what we've done in past windows, because past windows we didn't even address, key like holes in the squad. Like Lakanga and Tavares does help us, So I think we just like to live in misery a little bit. We like to wallow in it, maybe to keep rival fans from bantering us or something or whatever. But it's not cute, you guys. Like let Arteta and Edu build the team in their image and then make a decision after,
Yeah, I hear you on that. We have a question here from Slens who says, question for Arsenal fans. If Bernardo Silva was made available, would you take him over Maddison?
No. But that's not to say that Bernardo Silva is not a really good player. Like he obviously is, but does he really fill the need? No. We need an attacking midfielder that plays like a 10. Like that's what we need. We play with a double pivot.
Yeah.
So you look at somebody like Bernardo Silva, he's like more of a forward or even like a right-sided 8. We don't play with a midfield 3. So even though the name sounds good, and of course you probably want any of City's leftovers really, but do they fit our system? No, but Maddison does. So the answer would be no.
I hear you on that. I hear you on that completely. We've got some comments, super chats here. This is City getting Kane and Grealish and a new left back this season for 250 million is good business. Net of 50 to 70 sales. Haaland next season due to being a City fan. I mean, look, if you think they're signing Kane this summer and Haaland the next, you're wrong. But yeah, I'm still weirded out by people that don't think City will spend 250 million pound on 2 players or 3 players. It is, it flies in the face of that notion that's been spoken about all summer of 60 million pound for Declan Rice to Man United is seen as better business than 60 pound for Declan Rice to Chelsea because of the necessity of that player in that team. Right now, Harry Kane and Grealish for 250 million is as important as Arsenal spending 200 million on the 5-6 players you're linked with. It's the same difference, but just at different stages of the equation. So they can definitely do it, but they're definitely not getting Haaland next year. KC here says Inter are a much bigger club than Arsenal with 3 Champions Leagues. Going from that to a dead banter club is the definition of zero ambition. Lukaku is probably staying. What's your response to that, Jess?
Okay. Like these are those types of comments that are kind of like, okay, like you're just trying to throw everything at us and just be like as negative as possible on Arsenal. Like that's perfectly fine. I do think Inter are definitely more attractive and a bigger club because of what they've been able to achieve, especially as of recent. Dead banter club, okay, whatever, that's fine. But zero ambition, I'm not quite sure. Like a lot of players want to come to the Premier League and come to the best league and show what they can do. So zero ambition going from Inter in Serie A to Arsenal in the Premier League, I think that's just a little bit like you're reaching, like you're really reaching to say like that's zero ambition. I would say wanting to come to a team that, really needs to change the trajectory of in which it's going, and a big club in Arsenal in the Premier League doesn't really say no ambition. You know what I mean? I would say maybe staying at a club like Inter for 10 years and never trying something somewhere else. Maybe that says more about his ambition. So I get it. You want to banter us and call us like dead banter club and all that, but zero ambition really doesn't make sense when you're going to the biggest and best league, in the
Yeah,
world.
no, I totally hear what you're saying there. No Sun says Matters incoming. They try to say Leicester is bigger. I think that was very good chance of him leaving. Mark here says you have to like the mentality of young and hungry players coming to Arsenal. If they get it right, they can build for the next 4 to 5 years. Teams are aging. Potential is the new 28 complete year old. I hear what you say. Do you know what's interesting as well? These are the kind of players that Arsenal need to go for. They are going after marquee signings for them, but they're not going after people They're not going after Haalands and Mbappes and trying to sign players that are unattainable for a non-Champions League club right now. You're going after the players that are a slight grade below that with the potential to reach that level. It's where Arsenal need to fish, and you've been linked with lots of players this summer because of that approach. You're always going to try and sign someone big. I had a message from the Arsenal Hub actually earlier on Twitter. They asked whether like Nketiah and Lacazette leaving are pivotal. Absolutely. Like, you're going to have to sell people as well to make room for this. But all those things will be going on at the same time. There's no doubt. Stan here says, Gail talking facts. Gail being Jess. Need
Not
more.
you.
No, maybe I'm the girl. Maybe I'm the girl. I could be. Need more Arsenal fans like this. I think it's definitely you, Jess. I think it's definitely you. We're gonna bring on more people in a few moments. Wayne here says there's banter, and that's fine. But there is a point where it just becomes ignorance. Big up yourself, Jess. And I think that element is true. Definitely some of it's banter, and we can read the difference. Stefan, thank you very much for becoming a brand new squad member of the Football Terrace today. Make sure you've all hit that like and that share button, people. So share this on your social media streams. Encourage your followers, your friends, fellow Arsenal fans or rival fans to come and watch the stream now and get involved with the Football Terrace community. We're going to bring some callers on now to have their say and join Jess and I. Who are we going to bring on next? That's the big question. I think we should bring on James, who's another Arsenal fan, and Gunnar King, who's another Arsenal fan. And then we'll go from there and that point. I think that's what we'll do. I like both of them. They've always got some good things to say, different from each other as well, in terms of the way they put their points of view across. Let's do some comments first. David says, afternoon, Terry and all the FT family. I can't see both going, but Leicester are defo a better club now. Not bigger yet, but Chelsea are bigger now. However, United are bigger than them all combined. I want to ask you something just on that quick. If you sign these types of players, though, and they deliver, and you have this really good approach, you could catch and overtake teams like Leicester again very quickly, right?
Yeah, I do think that, if you were to bring in Maddison and Martinez, we should be above them in the table. Like, we really, really should. But it still depends. Like, just Maddison, I think, makes it a little bit tough still. I think bringing in a better striker would help, but this whole conversation about Leicester being this and that and the third, if we're discounting trophies, in a discussion about who's bigger and who's not, then I don't even want to have the conversation, because that's usually the biggest indicator. Then it's like fan bases and stuff like that. Leicester are not a bigger club than Arsenal. Like, please get that through your head. Like, it's not happening. Stop trying to make Leicester happen. Like, it's crazy. I understand the Chelsea one. I get that. But Leicester, are you guys serious? Like, okay. That's just me though.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, Gunnar King, give me your thoughts on this. As we say, when it comes to the Lautaro Martinez situation, it's advancing. The deal's there to be done. The player is willing to join. Inter are willing to sell at this point. That's been confirmed today to us, by Dean Jones.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very encouraging signs for Arsenal. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so look, I mean, you can look at it on the surface and be like, why would someone leave Inter Milan to come Arsenal? But you've got to take into context everything. Their current financial situation is not good. The investors that they've had from China are pulling out. Their champion, their league-winning manager in Conte has left as a result of this. So that is effectively aired the dirty laundry, on the washing line of that situation. That basically holds a mirror up for the rest of the world to see that financially they weren't able to back him for his ambitions to be met. So, I mean, that trickles down to the players, right? They've worked with this manager, they've listened to his instructions. He's helped them do something no other club in Italy has done in the last 9 years. I mean, like, winning a league in Italy when you're not Juventus is bigger than just winning a league in Italy. That's like monumental. And then to do that after a decade of dominance, and then the moment you've done that, the manager that's responsible backdoors it because of this financial situation. what player wouldn't feel like they're on board a sinking ship? Then you've got to look at it's easy to look at the stature of the clubs. Yes, Inter probably are a bigger club on the world stage, but in terms of a global footprint with the fans, I don't think they've got more fans than us globally. And the Premier League is the most watched league outside of England relative to any other country in the world, with the biggest TV revenue. What does that say to a player? Two things. One, I can make a lot of coin coming to England. And two, I can put myself on the biggest stage in world football, right? Irrespective of what club I join, that's what I can do. So if you're going to ignore all of those bits of context when you try to say, but why would Lautaro downgrade? I'd have to question your logic based on the points that I've raised.
I hear that. I mean, I think Arsenal fans have also got to brace themselves, because I've already seen a little bit of this on social media towards me from some fairly big Arsenal accounts. It's not advanced, it's not this, it's not that. Arsenal Football Club are going to try and protect themselves in this situation in case it doesn't come off and they end up with Tammy Abraham. And we've seen that for the majority of the summer from most clubs. It's how you want to word it. It's why the James Maddison situation has gone through intermediaries, in case the unthinkable happens and Spurs land him and not you. They can just turn around and say, well, we never officially tried to sign him. Remember that. But I've got to put it this way. A player, the Martinez doesn't inform Arsenal that he's willing to sign for them, and Inter Milan don't tell Arsenal they're willing to sell it, and it not be an advanced stage. I mean, that's the sheer definition of advanced. The only next thing for Arsenal to do is to agree a fee with them. Then that's it. There's the next stage, and then he's holding the shirt, bruv. Like, I don't know how much more advanced you need to be, but you will get it. What I find interesting about transfer news, it's almost like when you were first linked to Maddison, a lot of Arsenal fans didn't want to be linked with them. It was almost like, no, don't have these links, because if we don't land them, it's embarrassing. And it's almost, I don't know when they're going to get on board with the fact. It's like, but then when they're not linked with any top players, they're like, what the fuck are we not linked with anyone any good? The logic of it, and it's almost like they're 1 minute they're attacking their club, and the next minute they're defending their club, saying, no, we ain't linked to anybody. I find it with James. What's your take on that? I find it very weird. I mean, what I would say is this. Like, I've had Dean Jones on here today, one of the most credible voices in football news. Tell us this. You've obviously had the James Maddison stuff come from Chris Wheatley, but yet suddenly I'm being told it's all nonsense. Why?
Well, as Gunnar said, you can't win, right? Like, we want to be linked to big players, but then we don't want to be linked to big players unless we don't get them. Essentially, it's like, right, okay, we want the big targets, but if we don't manage to pull off the big targets, we're going to get bantered on social media, right? For me, I'd rather be in for James Maddison and Lautaro Martinez and not get them and show some sort of ambition and have the banter to deal with in the first place of not being linked with them. So, I mean, yeah, I don't understand that logic. Like, for us to progress, we're going to need to be in a position of risk where we might not get these players. But then on the other hand, I'm going to look at the positive side and be like, if we're in the situation to get the player, then why can't we get the player? And that's my view on it. Like, I'm excited. I'm being cautious. I'm being like, Jess, Maddison, I think, is a lot more realistic than Lautaro Martinez. But just being linked to those two, the caliber of players, the age, what they can do to our squad, you can't not but be excited. Like, if we sign both of them, I'm just going to say it now, we're going to be one of the most exciting young squads to watch in European football. Like, even though we're not European football, in Europe, before I get banned to saying we're in European football, but just having the squad that we've got, the young players, the philosophy we're trying to develop, you can't not but help be positive. And I think too many Arsenal fans are paying attention to the negatives. William Saliba's gone on loan, Granit Xhaka's signed a new contract, yada, yada, yada. We might sign two of the best prospects in the given leagues. Like, focus on that instead of what you think is bad news.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. And look, at the end of the day, when you go after quality players, you're going to miss out on them. Every single team does. I mean, there are lots of interesting reports that Jack Grealish might decide to stay at Man City. That doesn't suddenly take away all of Man City's achievements in the last few years. Just all players think of things differently. I just get the feeling that, again, it's an interesting response. Like, I don't mind. Jess knows, because we're all in like group chats together. I'm really quite relaxed about the information that I share and what I put out, because I trust. And I mean, when I say I see the the sources and I'm showing the messages and the conversations. I've actually sat there behind the scenes with one of the people we have on the show and spoke to a number of the players' agents with them. I know what's going, like, I can only take it at face value. I don't know what's going on in the boardrooms. I've never claimed that, but I know I just find it interesting that sometimes people want to believe the news, and there are other times when they want to really play it down. And I'm not sure whether they've got different information, whether that's because they're scared of being bantered, whether or not they want to be able to protect, up into the 11th hour, they want to be a bit like with the Chelsea thing with Lukaku now. Like if something mad happens with Lukaku and the bid gets accepted and Lukaku does say no, it really doesn't look great on Chelsea at this point, because that's where the information has come from. So look, it is what it is, and I suppose that's football for us in this modern day game. We're gonna add Amin. Amin's another Arsenal fan to the stream here. Welcome to the terrace, mate. What's your take on these two deals that are at different stages but both advancing? Give me your thoughts.
So with the firstly, I'm not gonna get my hopes up because only a few weeks ago I was really excited about when I first saw the rumors of Granit Xhaka leaving. I really thought Arsenal were serious. And then I see that giving him a contract to so-called protect a value of a player that no one in Europe rates, not even Roma rate him at that stage. So that just showed I don't know, I'm not going to get my hopes up. And with the James Maddison, I'm really excited about that. But, it seems like a deal that will drag out for a very long time. And the Martinez situation with that as well, there is a lot of complications to get Martinez. First, you have to sell Nketiah and Lacazette, who bear in mind Lacazette is on huge wages and someone has to get him. And the clubs who will even consider getting Lacazette this time with the amount of wages he has. And, I'm just not going to get my hopes up too much with this club because time and time again, they have proven just to bottle it every season. It's the same crap every year, so much hype. Just again this season, so-called squad overhaul. What have we done? We're heading into the new season with the same crap players that ended the last season. So, like I said, not getting my hopes up with this club anymore.
And I understand not getting your hopes up. I do kind of get that, and that's where, for me, there's a middle ground. I'm happy, like Jess said, I'm happy my club is going for these players, but I'm not going to allow myself to get. And I've had people give me nonsense for it. And Terry, you made me really excited about this player joining so-and-so club. I'm like, what did I say? Oh, you told us you thought it would happen. Yeah, I was given an opinion on the same news article. Have your own opinions. And I make you right, Amin. I wouldn't get your hopes up just yet about either of these deals because you could miss out on them both. There's no doubt about it. But you are trying to sign them. And I think for me, people I actually understand your frustration or your concerns. It's the people that want to almost deny they're going on. No, we're not doing it. I find that so strange, to be honest with you, Amin. Thanks very much, mate, for calling in and having your say. Top man. Thank you. Next on the show, we're going to go to Josh, another Arsenal fan. What do you want to say, Josh?
Hi, Terry. Hi, everyone. Hi, how are you doing?
Very good. Very good.
Good, man. Good. Tired.
I am very excited for this, but I'm going to keep calm because if it just blows up, then Arsenal is just going to get bantered. So, yeah, but honestly, I can see both of them coming to Arsenal, and I'll be really happy if Arsenal can actually pull this off. But who knows? And also, with Chelsea, if they sign Lukaku, I don't see Martinez coming to Arsenal because why will Inter Milan sell two strikers? That's just pretty stupid.
I mean, James, what's your take on that? Do you think Inter Milan could sell both?
Yeah, I think so. It really depends on the type of deals and how much money we're talking. I think everybody has a price, like you've seen with Haaland, right? I know Chelsea haven't officially put a bid in, but they've been sounding out maybe £150 million, right? And if they put in that bid, Dortmund are going to be like, "Well, hold up a second, this is a bit much that we can't refuse it." And it just depends on the situation. If you're getting whatever it's quoted, 120 million euros for Lukaku, and then if we do a deal where we go to Inter, if they sell Lukaku and say, look, we'll give you 60 million plus Lacazette, they're going to get a lot of money plus a ready-made striker to replace at least one of them. And it's just different scenarios. So I think it just all depends on the deal. It's unlikely, and it's going to be interesting to see who is sold first, if it is Lautaro or if it is Lukaku, because that might shape how the other club can do their business. But I think it is plausible, just depending on the finances.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I agree. I think it's no one quite knows Inter Milan's financial situation. That's the long and the short of it. None of us know exactly what it's like. So they may look at it and think, someone said it earlier on the stream in a super chat with Dean, that maybe they'll sell both. And that's enough money for them to resolve this year's issues and to reinvest in a couple of players for the future and no more money concerns. Maybe that's the option they're going to go for. I mean, it certainly stands to reason as to what, because would Conte have left if they were only going to lose one player? I don't see why he walks away from that club if they're only losing one guy.
Yeah, if they're losing Hakimi, right, you still have the core of the squad. Like, you still have all your attacking talent, and I'm not saying it's relatively easy to replace Hakimi, because it's not, but in terms of the positions on the pitch, it's a lot harder to replace goals than it is a lot harder to replace a right back. So it's kind of telling that they're willing to sell this squad, and they weren't even willing to back him in the first place. And as Gunnar said, like, once your top class manager leaves, that sends all of the wrong signals for me.
I think as well, what's worth noting is, look, I mean, they've sold Hakimi. I don't know the exact figure, 70, 80 million euros, something like that. They sell these two. Let's just say plausibly they get 300 million euros for the three players. They save half of that. They take half of it. They reinvest that into a younger spine of their whole team. You know, okay, they might suffer for like the first bit of the season or maybe even a whole season. But these are, you know, if they take the same ethos we're taking of, you know, buying the south of 28 prime players, you know, then in the longer term, the longevity of the good that does to the club, both financially speaking and on a competitive edge as well. You know, I think that could be a way in which both sales could happen. And look, the Italian league isn't really in a position financially, not just Inter, but even the clubs that don't have investor issues are all having problems. Look at Juventus and their plight to try and bring in Locatelli. They tried to offer, what, a 2-year bid with an obligation to buy at the end of 2 years?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's not a good state that the whole of Serie A is in. It's one of the leagues that is much more affected and impacted by COVID than our leagues, because they just don't have the TV revenue that we do.
Yeah, no, listen, I 100% get that, mate. 110%. Listen, thank you very much for the call, Josh. Top man. Thank you very much indeed. Gonna take the call now from B Man. It's been a while since this guy has been on the show. Top man, what do you want to say, brother?
I want to talk about Lautaro Martinez.
First question: what is it like in heaven, my friend?
It's very cold right now.
Go on, say your piece, my bro. Say your piece, my bro.
Arsenal fans should be very excited about Lautaro Martinez, because the one thing he does the best is that he gets the most out of your number 9. Lukaku, yes, he's great, but if you go and watch Inter games, it's Lautaro Martinez that's doing all the dirty work, all the kind of stuff and Lukaku can just focus on scoring goals. And on top of it, it's almost like he does the job for Inter that a guy like a Firmino does. But except when you give him a chance in front of goal, Martinez will put it away every time. So he gives you goals, he facilitates for your number 9. So all in all, he's a great striker. And the reason why Inter are letting him go right now is that when he was going to Barcelona a few years ago, according to reports, Inter promised him to give him a new contract, because his current contract is running down. I think he has 2 years left. He's on 80 grand, according to reports. Now they can't afford to give him the contract that they promised him. So now Arsenal are the ones that are they're saying, no, we'll give you that contract if you come to Arsenal. And according to reports, he wants to come to Arsenal. That is the important part. He's a very good player that wants to come to Arsenal. Now it's just a matter of agreeing a fee with Inter Milan. because what the reporting is, Inter are very desperate of keeping Lukaku because they made some promises to their socios, their fan group, that they're not gonna sell their stock.
Yeah, listen, I think that's a big point as well, which you've pulled on there, which I think is really, really interesting, and that's that the money in the draw of the Premier League, and Gunnar King spoke about it earlier, is so key. Like, I know we live in this idealistic world where players want to join their boyhood club and they do want to win all the trophies, but there is this element of 200 grand a week maybe at Arsenal versus 80 grand a week at Inter Milan. Do you know how much richer he becomes every week moving to the Premier League? Like, most of these football players are from working class backgrounds. Most of them come from poor upbringings and families from all around the world, including the UK. That extra £120,000 a week. Do you know how that's a lot of money? Like, over the course of a year, it's over £5 million a year more. A lot of these football players don't just support their wife and their kids. It's their wife, their kids, their mother, their father, their brothers, the children of that family. Quite a few footballers that I used to deal with, you actually found that whatever they were earning a week, I'm not going to divulge that on the air, but something like 80% of that was used each week to pay multiple mortgages, school fees, medical bills. Like, they invest in their family. And no one knows Martinez's point of view. Maybe he looks at it and says, I can make my whole family's dreams come true with this move, and Arsenal can help facilitate that now, rather than me maybe having to wait another year or another two. That may be his motivation. Like, for some footballers, that's the motivation. Now, I know something, for instance, about Mo Salah. Like, one of the reasons he wants to move on to another club within the next year or so, one, it's legacy in football, but it's also raising the profile of Egypt and its football. But it's also the charity work that he does. And if he can increase the money that he earns, it means he's got more money to put back into lots of different causes throughout Egypt and the communities that he helps. And that can be a motivation for people. And I sometimes think, as football fans, we negate the human element of decision making to the football pitch only. And for some people, earning an extra £100,000-200,000 a week, it isn't about just about driving Lamborghinis and Rolexes, which half these guys get given to them anyway through sponsorship deals and stuff. It's about what that money means to their family, their community, to their countries, etc. And listen, Martinez might be spending it all on trainers, clothes, and cars, but I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case in the grand scheme of things. B-Man, top man, thanks for coming on, my brother, and having your say. I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. Next on the show, we're going to go to Ziad. Ziad's a Chelsea fan. What you saying, mate?
Good afternoon, all. Yeah, for this Arsenal deal, I think if they manage to pull off a Martinez and a Maddison, I think it's a great step in the right direction, because they've got no European football this season. So it'll give time for Arteta to build a team, a structure, a way of playing for the players, because they've got a decent team, I think, especially if they sign these two players. Having a Smith Rowe, Martinez, Maddison, Saka, Martinelli, it's a decent squad, but it's about if Martinez will be able to be sold instead of Lukaku, because I don't see them selling both as much as they could do with the money. I don't see them selling both. And with Lukaku for Chelsea, look, I'm a very, very big fan of Lukaku, and I would love him at the club, but I still have this little feeling for some reason that something's happening with Haaland. I don't see what's going on with Haaland. So as much as the journalists are saying what's going on with Lukaku and how we've been bidding, no one has really made it clear what the end solution is with Haaland. Why have Chelsea all of a sudden turned their faces to Lukaku and started bidding 2-3 times? And from what we know, we haven't bidded once for Haaland. So, and the difference is not that much. If you think about it, we're probably overpaying for Lukaku. So we're probably going to pay around over 100 million for Lukaku. You slap an extra 20-30 million for Haaland, you get the player. So, and especially when Haaland's got that resale value, I'm not too sure, because no one's made it clear yet. From what I've seen, no one's really made it clear why we're going in for Lukaku now. Why are we going for a second option? And what's going on with the first option? If it's a case of Dortmund literally said, no matter how much you offer us, we're not selling, then that makes sense. But if it's a case of we don't want to pay money, and we've realistically wasted our time this summer, because from the get-go, Dortmund did give us a price that we would have to pay. And Fabrizio and Jan did say, if Chelsea pay a certain amount, if I think it was around 175 million euros, Dortmund will sell. So it's either something's going on and we don't know about it, or Dortmund literally just changed their mind.
And I don't think it might be Dortmund changing their mind. Jan and Fabrizio could have got that wrong. And, as I say, if I think back to what I said, we just go through this in order, because it actually relates to a tweet I'm just replying to as well. I was told by a couple of agents that I trust that Chelsea were putting together a 30 plus 20 bid. Go back and watch the videos. At no point did I say, or did they state, and I said through me, that bid would be accepted. What I did say is that the likes of Jan and Fabrizio believe a bid of that offer could be agreed. I've said it before, Jan and Fabrizio are two of the most credible voices in transfer news in the world, but they do not get everything right. And that isn't because they've got the bad information. Things change. Since they were given that information, Dortmund might have changed their minds. It maybe the major shareholders contacted the club saying, listen, don't feel forced to selling it for us. We'd rather you keep him. I'm just throwing that out there as an example. I said to Dean this morning, I mean, Chelsea could have put that big bid in last week informally and been told no. Now, what's really interesting is about my use of the word advanced stages. So I've just been not called out, because I get on very well with Tom from the Kounde talk he's been on. He said to me, your definition of what advanced means, your definition of what advanced must mean, you've got a bag full of hyperbolic adjectives in line if a deal is to progress through. He says a bid accepted, personal terms being agreed, the player having a medical, and the deal being done. Well, I don't even call it a deal being done. I call the deal being done when the clubs agree a fee. It goes, advanced must mean all of them, just no. So he's obviously criticizing me for using the word advanced. But what we've also learned this summer, and the Haaland deal is a prime example, on paper, officially, there's been nothing. There's been no official bid. There's been no official talks with the player. So officially, you've done nothing to land Haaland.
Exactly.
But we know you have. We know that you've had advanced talks with intermediaries. We know that you've had advanced talks to a point where personal terms are not going to be a problem. Football fans are being sucked into a game of semantics. Arsenal Football Club right now, having multiple conversations over a number of days with Inter, being told by Inter we're willing to sell for this price. Arsenal saying we can work on that. The player listening to what Arsenal are willing to offer him, and him saying, I'd be interested and open to joining if that's on offer. The only thing remaining is for Arsenal to make it official. It's still advanced. They haven't put the bid in because they're not in a position yet as a club to do it, because of Nketiah, because of Lacazette. And they don't want to put it in yet because they don't want it to fall apart and for them to be embarrassed. So these two things are at play at the same time. People moan about, well, how come we haven't heard anything about the Chelsea situation? But you don't want to hear anything about the Chelsea situation because you don't want to hear that you had a bid rejected or a player says no. At the same time, when a certain YouTuber or a journalist says you're in advanced talks, you say nothing's official, so nothing's happening. You can't have those two things at the same time. We either want things to be cloak and dagger and behind closed doors and to suddenly be announced and all be done through intermediaries and be quiet and protect ourselves for PR, or we just want to cut through the bollocks. And whether or not Arsenal and Inter are talking through an intermediary, or whether Chelsea and Dortmund are talking through an intermediary or not, we just look at it all as the one thing. That's you're making these approaches. And that's what Arsenal are doing right now with Martinez. It's what Arsenal are now doing with Maddison. What Chelsea have been doing all summer with Lukaku and with Dortmund. And the only time it becomes real is when it's all their ducks are pretty much aligned and a few official bids go in. Even Chelsea putting one official bid in and it being pushed back is rare in the way things operate under teams. Now, that's how these processes have developed in the transfer market. So my point to you is this. Something's definitely happened between Chelsea and Dortmund. We're probably never going to be told about it because Chelsea want to be able to walk away and say, no, we were never prepared to pay that amount of money. If they made it official and it went everywhere, then it causes just maybe bad PR or conversations they don't want to have. As an example, they can turn around to Lukaku and say, listen, we toyed with both, but they've been talking to them both all summer. You know, who knows what they've been saying to Lukaku behind closed doors. So my point to you is this, mate, is that people love the semantics when it suits their agenda. and they hate it when it goes against it. My point to you is this: Lukaku's always been a mainstay choice. Every top tier journalist has said that throughout the course of the summer, that you've been talking to him and everything else. Did what I say make sense?
Yeah, I definitely understand what you mean, but if because so we know something's happened between Chelsea and Dortmund. It's not being made public whatsoever, not the slightest. So we know something's happened. So I just want to ask you a question, because you probably know more than me. Just, is it a case of we're not willing to pay the money, so we're willing to pay 30 million less for Lukaku when we could have just put that a bit money and we get a Haaland with the resale value? Or is it a case of Dortmund have said, look, try all you want, no matter what money you give us, we're not going to sell? Or is this Lukaku a smokescreen? Like, I've got a headache with this because there's so many solutions. What do you think is the outcome?
I've got a few hypotheticals, because Dortmund have to be taken at face value. When they said they weren't selling Sancho last year, they meant it for a price. They named the price, and they said the price is the price to United. United tried as they may to get around it, and Dortmund held firm, even in a COVID-impacted environment. That was a year before the stadiums are opening again. So, you know, if they've just sold Sancho, financially, that strengthens their resolve. So what you wouldn't want to be in a situation of is you trying to get Haaland and then failing and then going to Lukaku, because what that would do is that would give all the leverage to Inter as a selling club, and it would give all the leverage to Lukaku and his representatives as a player, because it would be like, right, you tried, you failed, and now you're coming to us. So, you know, that's just going to bump up the cost of everything a little 10-15% or whatever. But when you're paying that much for a player, that's big money, right? So I think what Chelsea are doing is they're hedging their bets, whereby they're doing both simultaneously. If Haaland goes through as a preference, then they can just drop everything with Inter, rather than being in a situation where it blows up the Dortmund that you did try effectively and it fails, and that really gets public. And then, you know, Inter are literally just sat there rubbing their hands together,
same time,
you know, adding a few extra zeros onto the price.
Exactly. And at the same time, just to round this up, trust me, Chelsea will be telling Lukaku, yeah, we are looking at Haaland, but you're number one choice. But we're looking at him in case you decide not to come, or in case, because you've been telling the world that you don't want to join us. So we're gonna have to have a backup option in case you fall through. It's how it works. And what I love, again, it's like people want to, like, interestingly, I've had someone on here, and again, relaxed. Someone on here says, Terry, Matt Law says we haven't even put a bid in for Martinez yet. How can it be advanced? The same guy yesterday said Matt Law's chatting shit about Lukaku because Fabrizio said that he wouldn't leave. Again, it depends on what you want to believe to how you look at things. I just cut through the BS, and it is as simple as that. Like, when you make an unofficial internal inquiry through an intermediary, let's just call it what it is. You've just put a bid in for a player. It's as simple and it's as straightforward as that. I think football fans should stand up and reject the PR nonsense, and let's just have it outright. If you make that, like, because if it gets accepted, you're not going to be like, oh, no, we're going to walk away now because we weren't serious. You put in those informal bids because you're serious. Like, so just fucking cat the shit. Like, only
you think Haaland's completely dead?
I think, do I think it's completely dead? No. I wouldn't say 100% dead, but the way Chelsea have moved for Lukaku, like I said earlier, expect a couple of big European people a couple of big European transfer experts in the next 24 to 48 hours sort of say, like, meow, meow, alert, U-turn. Lukaku is now open to moving. And I also think the way they'll spin it will be very clever. It will be, I go with a heavy heart, but you're in financial difficulty. And basically, I'm going to fall on my sword and save you. I just know how it's going to work because I just do. And I'll explain in a few months how I know about all this stuff. Anyway, Ziad, thanks for coming on, mate. And having you say, appreciate it, bro. Man, like James as well. Thank you very much, brother, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Thank you very, very much indeed. Igao is here. Slen's Talk is here as well. I want to go to Igao first. Give me your thoughts on, I'm not going to use the word advance in case anybody's triggered by it. I'm saying, because I believe in it, Arsenal have been informed today that Martinez would join you, and Inter are willing to sell at the right price. Give me your thoughts.
It's gonna be difficult. Honestly, it's gonna be so difficult to get that Martinez deal done, especially without selling any players yet. I need to see players leaving in order for me to start to believe that we're gonna actually get a striker in. I need to see midfielders leaving. I need to see right backs leaving before I can see anybody going in. Terry, we have a situation where until the 31st of August, we need to see outgoings before any fan gets excited about an incoming. And that's the reality of the situation. Nobody's leaving. Nobody has been linked to being leaving. There's been links for Inter, for Bellerin, Roma and Lyon, and what do you call it? Even Atletico Madrid for Lacazette, but nothing concrete. I need to see outgoings before I can get excited. But you know what? When I see reports, I'm a fan. I'm gonna go with the roller coaster. I'm gonna say, you know what? We're getting James Maddison. It's happening. But that's just me being a fan at the end of the day. And I don't think Lautaro Martinez. I'm even there emotionally with that deal. But if it does happen, that's a statement of intent.
Yeah.
It certainly is, and in terms of outgoings, though, is it not a safer bet to practically secure your incomings before allowing people to leave?
Not at Arsenal. Arsenal are not Manchester City. They're not PSG. They're not Real Madrid. We have players that are absolutely worth nothing at this point. And if we buy our replacements before we sell the players, we are even hamstringing ourselves even more financially. Then we're devaluing a player who's already worth less than 20 million in Granit Xhaka. If we buy his replacement before getting rid of him, they know we have to get rid of him for nothing now. So we might just have to loan him out. And that's what we're trying to protect ourselves from.
I kind of disagree just a little bit because I just feel there. Oh no, it's fine. It's just when you have I do think you have to make sure that you have a replacement ready. And I have a hard time believing that you get this far and allow people to know that you're trying to get Lautaro Martinez if you don't think that you can sell some of these players. You know what I mean? Like, we don't actually know what's going on behind the scenes, but you don't start negotiating for somebody if you don't think you're going to get rid of Lacazette and Nketiah. Can it still fall through? Absolutely. But I do think that I don't think it's necessarily we need to sell to buy. We need to sell to create space. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's just a little bit different. So even with Maddison, you can bring in Maddison without having to sell anybody because Odegaard is gone. He's taking his spot. So for me, Nketiah and Lacazette are blocking Lautaro Martinez coming in because of space, not because of we need the money. Because if that were the case, we wouldn't be looking at Lautaro Martinez because 15 million for Lacazette and 12 million for Nketiah is not getting you anywhere near Lautaro Martinez. You know what I mean? So I think we have the money, but we just need to create space. And I have a hard time believing we'll get this far into negotiations and let people know that it's happening if somebody's not telling you, look, I'm looking at Lacazette. And nobody's going to bring in Lacazette at the beginning of the window because you have to pay his wages. They're going to get him at the very end of the window so that they can pay as little as possible. Because I don't know about you, but I'm not going to pay Lacazette 200 grand a week for preseason. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, you know what I mean?
I'm going to go to Slens in a minute. I agree. I disagree with. I understand your point, Igal, that you're not those clubs, but you've got to start acting that way. And in terms of process and behavior is key. Also, the message it sends to you that your club is wealthy enough to have Lacazette sit in the stands on his wages. You can afford it if you want to. Now, if the Cronkies were like, listen, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go and get Martinez, and then we're going to try. And look, by the way, when I say get him, you can get that deal as lined up can be. This is another reason why the process that we've just been speaking about being public doesn't happen. You could almost get this deal for Martinez hook, line, and sinkered, but you do a deal with Inter where you keep it as silent as possible because you're like, we need to move people. It's been going on for years where teams are like, let's hold back for a moment until we get our replacement over the line and these things, but everyone stays quiet and we move on. That's why I don't buy into this. It's only advanced when we officially hear that personal terms are about to be agreed. These personal terms are like Man United and Sancho didn't discuss personal terms after the fee was agreed between the clubs. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Sancho have been talking regularly for a year. That's when it was done. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? So you need to start acting in a way where it's like You're working on these 2 deals. And by the way, you are working on exits at the same time. I want to get Slens involved here because I know we're talking a lot of Arsenal, but we are talking Lukaku as well. What an amazing 24 hours as a Chelsea fan. The bid's going in. A 4th bid expected now. Give me your take on that, mate.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting, but I closed the door on Lukaku completely because obviously there's comments and everything. But that just shows you what people say in the media. Take it with a pinch of salt, no matter what they say. I think when the money's put on the table, that's when you start really talking. But listen, Lukaku, I'm seeing fans turn their nose on him, and disrespect him, but it makes no sense to me. Like, he's a proven goal scorer. I've said this many times in different systems, in different formations, different teams, and different leagues. Just because he had a hiccup for 6 or 7 months does not define him as a player. It's ridiculous. Like, his goal scoring record last year speaks for itself. I think people say his touch is dead. If you look at his overall game, if you have 10 assists, that prove to me that you have awareness and you've improved your game. Like, at the end of the day, Conte brought him in, I believe, for three or four training sessions, was training him to play with his back to goal, and it's been clear to see there's been clear improvement. I think people crying about the price, including myself yesterday, actually, I was thinking about it, and I was saying the price was 100 million, right? I was like, if we put 50 million more, it would be going to 100. But then I realized transfers are not like FIFA. Like, we become very desensitized to money because of FIFA and everything. But think about the wages, the agent fees, the in-game bonuses, the everything else that's put into account. I think if you look at Haaland's deal overall, it would have cost more than what the transfer fee would be. Maybe with Lukaku, the wages are lower, and obviously we're not dealing with Mino Raiola as well, which I think is a positive for someone like Marino and the club. But no, listen, I'm excited for him, man. Like, we need a striker of that caliber. We need someone to take the weight off our front forwards who kind of have struggled to score goals. If we have one player who starts becoming our main goal scorer, I think others can shine as well. The likes of Kai and the likes of Timo. So yeah, it's exciting. And Chelsea fans, like, I know we must start on Haaland, but until you have the full story, don't overreact. Like, honestly, don't overreact.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, I agree. Just some breaking news from the brilliant Chris Wheatley. Granit Xhaka has informed Jose Mourinho that he is staying at Arsenal, and he has penned his new deal. Granit Xhaka has had a pay rise, and he continues as I actually got that wrong the other day. I thought it was going to be a kind of ceremonial new contract and move him on next year, but it's a pay rise. It does seem like Arsenal actually really wanted to keep him. And that puts not an 100% end, but puts a big dent in the likes of Basuma's and Ruben Neves' joining Arsenal Football Club this summer. Still attacking midfielders and strikers on the agenda. Interesting. Granit Xhaka remains an Arsenal player. I've got a comment here, super chat, that says, "What's the truth behind Arsenal given another 100 million for transfers?" Highly credible indeed. Highly credible indeed. Something Dean Jones just spoke about for them. Again, another weird story that a lot of top Arsenal journalists were trying to distance themselves from. It's as if they're being briefed by a club. But yeah, Arsenal were looking to spend between 150 to 200 million pounds. Some of that will be raised by the sale of other individuals, of course, increasing the turnover of the football club. But it very much could happen. They're at about 75 to 80 now. They land just one of James Maddison or Martinez, you're going past 150. So, yeah, I mean, you are definitely moving towards those kind of echelons there. There's some other super chats. First one is from Shreddix, who says Chelsea don't get top targets. Sorry, Chelsea don't get top targets. They struggle to get top 4. I think most Chelsea fans have agreed if you don't get a striker, you won't win the league. Struggle to get top 4, that's too much. A comment here from CNY 24 says Deltas usually speak facts, even if they are Arsenal fans. Is he calling Jess a Delta? Is that a compliment? I don't know what that means. Is a Delta a compliment?
No comment. No comment on that.
What is Delta? Is that like
Why
a
are
Delta?
you so personal? That is so personal. Like,
Yeah.
and I
See?
do speak facts. So what do you mean?
Facts, but what is? I assume a Delta. I only associate.
It's a
Delta.
sorority.
I was about to say that Delta Omega. Yeah, sorority. You do weird shit.
Whoa, not cheerleaders.
You do
What
weird
the hell is
sororities,
that?
don't you? I've seen American Pie. I know what goes on with them sororities. You know
That's
what I mean?
not real life. Like, is that your example?
I've been on university campuses. And
What's
high
your
school campus.
example?
By the way, when I was on a high school campus, I was 17. Right, I need to put that out there. When I was a kid, and I've been at university campuses in America. That shit. I went to a frat party. Oh my god,
Living your
my
best
god.
life, bro.
I
Living your
didn't
best
want
life.
to go back. I was like, this is where I want to be forever. I just wish I was like a trust fund kid and could stay at uni forever. Confirmed. LFC renewing contracts this summer only. Confirmed. But listen, bro, I need to be directed in the right direction for that. We've got another comment from Wayne here. That's, okay, he's already said that one there already. Get your super
Hey, Terry, can I ask also fans a question?
Yeah, go on, mate.
You know, in terms of Xhaka, yeah, like, I know I clapped and I was just joking around, but I think it's because of the attitude that Arsenal fans have towards a player. But if I look at him over the last like 6-7 months, I think he's improved. I know his level was very low, but I think in terms of your playing style, like he is quite essential to it under Arteta. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm a rival fan. I might be delusional, but I think in terms of his ability on the ball.
You're right.
But I think his main issue has always been his concentration and his like errors that are just come out of nowhere. But I don't know how you guys feel about the contract.
Miguel, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm just happy that we did not roll over on Roma's bid, that they kept bidding, undervaluing him, and now we've given him a new contract. And you know what? He's not as bad as everyone always makes him out to be. If you look at some of the statistics and everything, he is integral to our build-up. We've seen that second leg against Villarreal. I really do believe if he was available for that game, it would have been a different story. We probably could have gone through that tie and gone to the final Europa League. We wouldn't be here today talking about how bad he is every single day if it wasn't for a couple major errors. And I get that he has had a lot of errors leading to goals, but it's because he's so confident in himself that he takes it upon himself and does things that other people would, and puts himself in situations other people wouldn't put themselves in. I get that he's a little bit slow and he does take an extra touch here and there when he doesn't need to, but that's the main reason why he gets himself in trouble. As a player, he's integral to our build-up play. He's integral to the way we play. And if we were to replace him, it would cost us around 30 to 35 million above that. But in order for us to sell him for 15 million euros to Roma, I'm happy we stayed strong and we didn't buckle.
Yeah, I think that's a great breakdown. I've got some breaking news here.
More?
Matt Law has come out and stated Inter Milan want £100 million from Chelsea for Lukaku and may be forced to cash in on him, as we know. This isn't brand new news. It is confirmation of what was already reported out of Italy yesterday. This changes things massively. We always knew this was going to end up being the case. 100 million. I want to just get my calculator out here, as in my euros to pounds calculator. I want to check this because, of course, Damasio, who's one of the most credible sources out of Italy, stated 120 last night. And 120 million euros is about 102 million pounds. That's like on an average conversion rate. So what he has said is pretty much true. Matt Law, I actually said when Matt Law returns from holiday, the transfer window is going to pick up. It's as if he knew something. There we go. 100 million pounds looks like it's going to be the asking price here. We're going to add Winter Surfer to the call with us. We're going to talk about that 100 million pound asking price in a moment. But viewers, please hit that like button for the Terrace right now. Let's get it smashed, please. Get your super chat questions in as well. Jess, Xhaka, as we know, just signed a new deal, pay rise. Hub of your midfield now with Partey. Give me your thoughts, please.
I mean, I guess when you're thinking that you're going to get something different, you're a little bit disappointed that it's not really happening. But I was actually surprised when the links came out for him to leave, because I personally believe that Arteta really likes Granit and he had no intention of getting rid of him. I don't think he was being pushed out of the door. I think he wanted to go, and Arteta was willing to give him, that chance to go do something else. But now that Roma, I mean, I know a lot of Arsenal fans would take a bag of Skittles for Granit Xhaka, but the reality is we can't. He's our starting midfielder, whether you like it or not, and you can't let Roma give you 12 million for him when he's at least worth 25. That's his market value, whether we like it or not. So it would be, I think you're setting a dangerous precedent by selling your starting players for way undervalue, especially if it's going to cost you 35 to 40 million, as Igal said, to replace him. So I'm disappointed just because I was looking forward to seeing somebody else show up. I do think it's a little bit risky for us to extend him. I know why we're doing it, because has only like 2 years left. So we want to make sure that we can, if we want to sell him next season, we can get something. But he'll be like 30. And I have a hard time believing that anything that he does this season would increase his value. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit risky, but ultimately for me, if you don't get rid of Granit, then all that money that you were going to use to replace him has to go into a number 10. And if that's Maddison, that's an improved midfield for me. Thomas Partey, Maddison, and Granit is a good midfield, whether you like it or not. And so I'm okay with it as long as we get a Maddison caliber number 10. It is what it is at the moment. And we just have to be more realistic about our squad building. Like bringing in somebody like Granit Xhaka and never giving him a athletic box-to-box player to play with was negligent by the club. You don't spend almost 40 million on a player and not surround him with players that are going to get the most out of your investment. So although we don't like him, and yes, him throwing the armband and stuff was a bad look, ultimately the club let us down. And we do this with everybody. We did it with Aubameyang, Lacazette, make these huge purchases and never finish the job. So now that Thomas is here / Lukanga, I think he's a better player for it. And I think even with a Maddison and that being our midfield, it's still an improvement,
Yeah, listen, I get that completely. I really do. We've got a super chat here from Monsieur. He says to Arsenal fans, but could Basuma and another midfielder be better than signing two? Sorry, sometimes I struggle to read these. Could Basuma stroke another mid be better signings to get then renewing and extending Xhaka's contract? I mean, yeah, probably. I think Arsenal fans would agree with that. My view is very much this, again, and I could be putting 2 and 2 together here and getting 37. But with Maddison progressing, with the potential of bringing in Martinez, maybe the decision internally has been made, let's keep Granit Xhaka and address that situation next year. Because if you drop 40 million right now on Neves, it's then impossible to get both Maddison. Like financially, probably impossible then to get those other two. So I think there's a lot to consider here. And Arsenal have got lots of holes in their squad at the end of last season. They were never, ever filling all of them in one summer. And if any Arsenal fan had put that standard out there, they were going to fill them all in one summer. You've set yourself up and your own club up for failure there. Winter Surface here. I want to get your opinion on Matt Law's recent article. £100 million is going to be the cost to bring Lukaku back to Chelsea. Give me your thoughts on investing that level of money, plus £13 million a year in wages.
I don't care about wages. Top quality players get big wages. That's what I don't care about that. £100 million, I don't care either. He's one of the best free strikers in the world for me at the moment. That's how much he is worth. £100 million. I think Chelsea will go back in again. They've obviously been given some type of sign from Lukaku and maybe his camp that he wants this to go through. And I think Inter will accept and he will come. I think once the bid's accepted, I think this deal's going to be wrapped up pretty quickly. I have no issue with paying £100 million for Lukaku. He's a top quality striker. And anyone who doubts Lukaku because you wanted your number one favourite Haaland in, which I did as well, and it just shows you're just not looking at it logically. Take the emotion out of it. Lukaku is a top draw striker, and that's what we're crying out for. Do not turn your nose up. Do not turn your nose up at this because we can't get Haaland. Lukaku is the next target. None of this fourth choice rubbish I'm seeing online that we were looking at Kane and Lewandowski and Lukaku's fourth choice. That's not true. You've seen it from the reports. We've always been tracking Lukaku. So, and he's the next target.
Yeah,
Kane was never. We were never going to negotiate with Spurs for Kane. There's too much bad blood. And Lewandowski, we were never going to pay that much for a 33-year-old. It's just not happening.
On top of that, this deal's going to move quickly because, unlike a lot of people don't like me using these words, a lot of the work's already been done. You already knew ballpark what it would take to bring him in. And what you tried yesterday, the first two bids were definitely intermediary, checking the scenario type bids. 110%, that's what they were. Yesterday's bid was official. You chanced your arm at 100 million, including a player. Now you're going to have to go back in with 100 million. in total. Some more breaking news. Some more breaking news.
You need a sign. You need that Sky Sports
Guardian,
thing, you know, the breaking
writer
news.
of the Guardian here, Jacob Steinberg, who does a lot of his work with Fabrizio Romano, has just released an article in the last 5 minutes, and I'll read you the headline. Arsenal want James Maddison, and the Leicester midfielder is open to a move. The Maddison news is now picking up more pace. It's going to be a slow burner, even though the situation behind the scenes has advanced. Offers are now being made from Arsenal into the club to test what will and won't work through intermediaries. But James Maddison, this is another clear sign that he wants to move on. If Arsenal can come near to an agreement with Leicester via the intermediaries, at that point, it will move very, very quickly. That's how these things work. Now, Maddison been reported a few times this summer. Of course, the AFC Bell, the first to release this information, talking about what they expected, what they were going to be offered. Our very own Pete O'Rourke talking about this just last week, that he feels this deal could go through. Maddison was open to it, etc. So some, I think social media is now seeing some of their more credible sources now come out and say that these deals are moving forward. But Egal, your reaction to that? First of all, Chris Wheatley talking about the intermediaries working with the club today. Now, Jacob Steinberg, one of the most credible voices in football transfers, works very closely with Fabrizio, has confirmed the player is open to the move to Arsenal. Give me a take.
Never doubt the AFC Bell, man. Never doubt the AFC Bell. First person to break this story. Don't forget to mention him, Terry. That guy was the first.
Just mention him first. What are you talking about?
No. Let me say my point. I wasn't throwing shots at you. You're the host. Obviously, I'm going to be talking to you directly. I'm not. You get what I'm saying? Relax. Anyways, James Maddison joining Arsenal. If he does join Arsenal, and if this deal can get over the line, this would be a big, big move. Because when was the last time we went out and bought somebody within the Premier League who's already had such a big impact for a team like Leicester? If he comes into Arsenal, I've already spoken about his attitude, his mentality, and the type of character that he is that would be bringing into the team. And also, he's going to be pushing for that England spot next season because he missed out on the Euros. So it's going to be a personal thing for himself. He's going to be driven to make himself a better player, and he has the work ethic that we need from a player to improve themselves and to demand better from everybody around him. So with the age, everything being English, the fit, the profile, everything about it, I'm excited. And if it does happen, honestly, I'll be over the moon. I'll be dancing. You'll see it.
Hey, Terry, can I just say though, just real quick, you're not Arsenal fans, yeah? Like you're getting Maddison, and if you do get Martinez, I want to see some chest, man. Like, what is this talk about? Not top four, I'm not sure. No, top
No
like,
chest.
listen, if you make these signings, I want to see people say top four should be like
priority
should be guaranteed. It's big signings. It's big signings.
For now, we have to wait and see who is actually going to come in. And when they come in, we can talk about who's going to actually drop out for us to get in.
What about Kroenke out? Does Kroenke out still happen?
Kroenke out still
always and forever.
I'm just saying.
Always and forever.
People are influenced by transfer.
Because I'll say with my chest, yeah, if we sign Lukaku, I expect
League
us
title.
to win more than one major trophy. I want to see two major trophies on the table.
I wish Manchester United fans would do that. They're a little quiet. They won't say anything with trust. They won't say anything with trust. Who's the winning midfielder?
One second. You just won the Champions League. City just won the league. Manchester United just signed signing Haaland and Varane, and they finished second and we're in the Europa League final. Liverpool just won the Champions League and the league before. If we are going to get into the top four, one of you four are going to have to fall out. Who's that going to be? Is it going to be Manchester United? Probably not, because they've strengthened. Is it going to be Liverpool? Probably not, because their team is getting fully healthy from the season a couple of years before. Is it going to be Chelsea? Probably not.
We don't need to go through every option. We get it. The point is, it's not about you actually making it. It's about if you sign Martinez and Maddison. For me, there's no excuses to not challenge for the top four.
Oh yeah. Challenge, yeah.
Until April.
I mean,
yeah.
We were 6 points off. I mean, we finished 8th last season, but we also finished 6 points off of top four. You know, I don't want to. I'm not going to quite give it the chest yet that Slens is asking for, because I still think it's dependent on a few other positions. You know, I think our right back area looks weak and could do with strengthening. I still think, you know, what Terry said earlier on the show about getting Lautaro Martinez and keeping Lacazette on the bench if we had to. we've got rid of several players in the last 12 to 18 months. Cumulatively, we brought the wage bill down. I still think we could do with a centre mid to sit next to Partey. You know, I think Lukaku leaves our options short. If Partey's injured for the next 4 to 6 weeks, which it's looking like, we still got Ainsley Maitland-Niles and Torreira, who are other assets that we can cash in on. You know, we still got Kolasinac there, you know, Nketiah there. You know, I think we still need to do a bit more than Maddison, but it definitely strengthens that area and it makes us stronger.
Yeah.
Can I just say on
Yes.
the whole, like, keeping Lacazette thing and stuff, like, I would be very disappointed even if we did bring in Martinez if Lacazette was still at the club. Like, somebody has to go because there's a guy named Balogun and another guy named Martinelli that need to be integrated into the squad. So I don't see Martinez coming in without Lacazette going. Like, I just cannot see it. Having him on the bench is an absolute waste. And I don't think Balogun's going on loan. Like, you know what I mean? And I get that people want another midfielder to come in because we just don't really we don't want to see Xhaka there anymore. But the reality, he signs a new deal. He starts every single game because he's always available and Arteta loves him. So I just don't see the midfielder coming in. Like, I really don't.
But by the way, just if you need a striker, there's what's his name again? He plays for Chelsea. Tammy Abraham. He's available for you if you like. Yeah,
Bambi
great goal scorer.
Thanks
Great
for
goal scoring
no
pedigree.
thanks.
Great goal scoring pedigree, man.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. Well,
I
there's
hate
that.
that. Listen, it's been a great show today. I've got a few more super chats I've got to do here. First one here says, if Arsenal sign Martinez, will we bring a
music video, exactly, a song as well.
I get what you mean. Will you expect a music video? I think music videos are banned from Arsenal.
You're no fun. You're no fun.
Not this time
anymore.
It's a great song.
I don't need to see Don Robbie dancing badly either. Like, I don't need to see any more of that. Wayne here says Arsenal fans complain and moan that Arsenal don't get enough for our player sales, but complain and moan when we refuse to sell Xhaka for nothing. That is a fact. And also, on like a gal earlier, it's like you don't trust Arsenal to get rid of players because they're not worth anything, but then you celebrated not allowing Xhaka to go too cheaply. When you start to change your processes as a club, selling and buying, it's a slow burner. It takes a while for clubs to take you seriously. I spoke about it 2 summers running about Man United under Ollie trying to behave different, making it more about the player profiles, not allowing people to use us for money, walking away from big deals when you're not getting the right attitude and behaviors from their reps. It's taken to the 3rd summer of us doing that for us to be taken seriously and get respected. We're starting to get good money for sales. We're getting players cheaper because we're starting to be respected more in football. So you might have to, again, if your owners are serious about making changes, you might need to like swallow a few L's in terms of keeping on some players you don't necessarily want to get rid of just yet.
So just a quick thing as well, like
aren't just yet. Yeah, go on, mate, go on.
Our fan base as well, like I mentioned Tammy, and people are crying out saying, "Why are we not selling him?" I'm like, why would you sell him for lower than what he's worth? Like, I've seen English players go for a lot higher than 30 and 20 million. Like, he's worth 40 or 45 for me because of the talent that he is. He's English. He's 23 years old. Like, he's got a goal scoring pedigree. I'm sorry, but if players like, I would respect Ben White going for 50 million. He's a good centre back, but obviously his nationality raises his price. Same thing with Tammy, I expect. So I don't see why people want to sell off your players. No, you sell them for the price they deserve.
I'm very sorry. Come in, let me see.
Breaking news.
Oh look, she's got a medal. At your medal. Oh, good. Well done. Oh, hang on. What is on his head? Oh,
more medals than Spurs, but we move.
Right. I'll see you now. I'm really done. In a minute, baby. Right, Jackie. Oh, is that my son came in with a hair clip in his hair. Anyway, I've got another Wayne here. A super chat says, Jess, I'm all for Lacazette leaving. If Martinez comes in, just not Tammy. Please, God, not Tammy is what Wayne says there. Everyone that's tuned into the terrace today, I can't believe we're getting an hour and 33 minutes. A massive thank you to each and every single one of you. Make sure you hit that like button for the terrace today. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And also join our brand new notifications group chat. Amazing. Over 100 new people have subscribed to that during the show, which is brilliant. We'd love to have you all in there. You'll never miss any more updates from the Football Terrace moving forward. More to come later on tonight. I'm going to go to the gym now because I've got just over 2 weeks until our brand new shows launch, and I need to get rid of the dad bod. Do you know what I mean? I've got to trim up a little bit and get myself looking like very attractive. I'm talking so attractive that when everyone walks in the studio, they're just going to be like, wow. No, I'm joking. It's a joke. Sarcasm. Slen's definitely. I'm going to watch Slen's be like, oh, look at Tellian. Look at Tellian. Anyway, I mean, KJ gave me the weirdest response when he met me. He came up to me and started like touching my chest and my calf, going, got quite a lot of muscle, haven't you? I was like, what do you expect, bruv? Like some skinny little you. I don't know. Just outed KJ there.
Definitely don't want to play this game.
This is wild, bro. What kind of end of show is this, man?
When you meet me, Jess, hands off. Hands off. You know, it's out of bounds. That's what Listen, everyone who's tuned in, thank you. Take care. Goodbye. God